Hey, DM Dango here with another review from the DM's Guild. This time we're looking at Ravenhome, a starting adventure. So, Ravenhome, the starting adventure. Well, it's an adventure designed for first level characters, maybe second level, of a party set of about 4, based on kind of what I believe is in the module and what the challenges that are presented to the players. Now, there is a small asterisk with that, as I think certain party makeups might struggle with this. It's a little bit trap heavy in terms of the encounters are presented, and the social encounters aren't too difficult to manage without, say, the party face. However, the trap ones are a little more deadly, especially near the end of the first chapter. There's a poisonous gas trap that I think could potentially cause some problems. More specifically, I think it is potentially possible to lead into a full TPK, depending on party makeup, and depending in a lot of ways on whether or not your players are very trap focused or interested, or at least aware that they exist. There is this nice build up, and it's one of the things I like about the module. They kind of build in this idea that here's a trap, here's a minor one, here's another trap, here's a more dangerous one, and here's a final trap, and it's the most dangerous one, and this is the one that you need to be really careful about. And it's not like the trap isn't well telegraphed in terms of what's going to happen. However, I think some players, especially if they're role-playing certain archetypes, I'm thinking something like the brash and headstrong barbarian type, this trap is probably going to trigger quite quickly. That's not a problem necessarily, they say, but you need to set that expectation very carefully as a dungeon master, that this is the area that the players are going into is a very trapped and heavily dangerous area. Now, the adventure module itself is split into 2 chapters. In the first chapter, you're dealing with a recent earthquake has occurred, and things are beginning to happen in the area. Some things, people going missing, and the rats have basically taken over the town. And your job is to go into the fissure that this earthquake has created, and to investigate and find out what the causes and what kind of problems. And now it brings back one of the older monsters from, second and first edition of D&D, the Cranium Rat, as a titular villain, which is a good choice, I think, for like an early party kind of get this kind of unique and interesting villain that you can make a lot of use out of, and go from there. And now there is some twists in here in terms of what actually happens as a result of you kind of going down into this, but I'm not going to spoil anything to avoid any players out there who might be wanting to play this particular module. There's some predicated things around not knowing various bits and pieces that will kind of lead to a greater experience as a player or as a DM. In that kind of vein, though, you go down, you deal with this problem, and then you could potentially... The other part of what I've liked here is that there are certain points in there where there are random plot hooks that you can introduce as part of this that lead to greater adventures. This is a first, this is either designed as a one-shot for, people who are a taster session into what D&D is, really great for that, or as a kind of, here's a starting point for a larger campaign. It has some nice plot hooks to allow that idea to spread, as it were. And it's nice to see random plot hooks as well. The other thing I liked is that in a lot of the skill checks, he has kind of a gradiated scale. And I've seen that before in other modules now. It's a really nice thing to see, because it says, well, you didn't succeed this much, but you succeeded this much, so you gain this knowledge instead. And it's good to see that kind of stuff. He also mentions the minor magical items from Xanathar's Guide. And I think they're a great addition to any existing kind of campaign or any existing adventure, especially in the early levels, because you want to reward your players with something, but you don't necessarily want to, go dropping +1 weapons all over the place and unbalance your game. It's nice to have these things very early on, so players can go, I've got the capability, or I've got the Wand of Smiles. These little unique items that have character to them, but don't necessarily have any mechanical advantage. There's only one big thing that I didn't like about the adventure as a whole, and that it's very generic in terms of the tropes that it goes over are very tried and tested and very true. Now, that's not necessarily a whole problem, because it's something like, well, if you're introducing new players to D&D, they won't have been exposed to some of these tropes. Although the chapter 2, I expect most people have heard of the Pied Piper trope, and that one is very well exposed. The first one is less so, and it's more of a D&D trope built into it. Now, that's not a huge criticism, but it's something I would have liked to see. Kind of, it takes an adventure module that I go, that's very well done, mechanically and thematically. It's very well structured to keep it, interesting. To takes it to the next level to say, here is something that I've not seen before in an adventure. Here's something I've not witnessed as a way of kind of doing things, or this is something that I've not kind of thing. That's not to say that this is a minor detraction. Other things I did like, though, that I would like to mention at this point, kind of to make a nice, like, dislike, good, like sandwich. Yes, sandwiches. I love the characterization of various creatures and NPCs within it. I also like the lore building he does. There's very well done in terms of seeding your future adventures. It's nice to have those little seeds presented for you as a DM if you need them. It's always better as a DM to have something and go, well, I'm not going to use that, than it is to just try and say, well, I'm giving you nothing. Good luck. The other nice thing is at the very end, there's an appendix for all the villager, kobold, and there's one other names section in there, just to kind of give you a good way of saying, well, here's a name generator for you for the various people that are in the village that maybe they talked to somebody I didn't expect. Here's a name you can use, and that's very nice to see. Overall, my rating for this adventure is going to be a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, it goes over tropes that already exist. Now, on the DM's Guild, I'll rate it 4 out of 5, just because of their rating system. But it's a very good, solid adventure. I don't think there's anything mechanically or structurally wrong with it. I just think that if it had something more interesting, or more interesting plot device, I think it might have been better. Although it is level 1 and 2, so there is some forgiveness there. Hence 4 out of 5. Thank you again. Please remember to like and subscribe this video. Not subscribe to this video, subscribe to me so that you can watch more of my content. It lets me know that I'm doing something you guys enjoy. It's to do something you guys want, and leave a comment down below saying, what do you want me to review next? What do you want to see next? What kind of things do you want to see? Now, I have been looking at player options stuff because that seems to be a very hot button issue. So I'm going to be trying to do more of those in the future. Anyways, thank you. Peace out.